Here's a news flash for you. Mel doesn't need my help.
I absolutely adore Doc. He's brilliant, he's clever, he cracks me up every time he speaks. He's charming, and I swear to God, if you are gonna scorn like a Scotsman.
Have you seen any of her videos? Or is this just a thing that you're trying to do this divide and conquer, that Mel needs my help because I have testicles for some reason?
Hey guys!
Hello!
What's up?
Hello! So tonight's special guest, we have Hugh Jackman from his loft. Hugh, you've lost a little weight recently, but it's looking good on you. How's the whole thing, and are you dealing with it okay with the adamantium and that whole business?
Well, it's very hard to lose weight, isn't it, when you're about a third adamantium? But I'm doing all right, yeah. That's the most
it's not really Hugh Jackman,
had,
folks.
by the way. No, sorry to disappoint you all. No, I'm not Australian or green or what have you, but thanks for that. I'm kind of flattered, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it just came to me in a moment there. It's like Hugh Jackman in a loft. There he is.
That almost sounds like some kind of children's book.
It's actually the code to get into it's the code to get into my secret special club. Hugh Jackman in a loft. Come on in.
Oh my goodness. So today we have Myles Power here, guys. There's links to his channel in the description. So please do hop over there, give us click subscribe and check out some of his stuff. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you love, what you know? No particular order.
Cool. Sure. Okay. So my name is Myles Power. Sorry to disappoint all of you who are expecting Hugh Jackman. I'm a chemist by profession, and I'm a YouTuber on the side when I've got a bit of free time. And the videos that I make, I've been making for 9 years now, which in internet years makes me a prehistoric, makes me an old man.
Yeah.
I make videos basically on bad science, pseudoscience, and conspiracies. I've found out that I have a bit of a knack for getting to the bottom of various quackery, and it helps that I'm quite anal. So I find these little tidbits of truth in these conspiracies, and I unravel them, and I kind of show people that basically it's all bollocks, especially with quackery, because over the last few years, I think we seem to be in a bit of a renaissance of quackery. So I've spent quite a bit of time and effort debunking specifically very dangerous ones out there, very niche ones that you don't normally tend to hear. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm a YouTuber.
Well, that's awesome.
This guy can definitely be a friend of the show, given that that's kind of what we do here and in other ways. So yeah, dangerous medicine or dangerous non-medicine. Preys on vulnerable people for profit, and people die. And I hate harsh, but that happens.
Well, one interesting thing I've found is that with a lot of this niche quackery, a lot of people don't make that much money off it. It has to do more with the quack selling it, I found. So these, what I call second generation quacks, they're not like the Andrew Wakefields or the Food Babes or what have you. No, these are ones who were originally taken in by those guys and then decided, hey, it's really easy just to make up my own pseudoscience. I can tell you how to get rid of all your parasites. I can tell you how to, cure all your ailments. And why don't you try this? And it's usually something really quite horrific and weird. So have you guys heard of turpentine therapy before, for example?
Yeah, very much so.
That's new to me. I've mostly focused on MMS, but tell us a bit about that.
Oh, yeah. So turpentine therapy it's exactly what you think it is. It's people consuming rather large amounts of turpentine to kill parasites, unspecific parasites that are the problem, well, the cause of all your problems. And it's quite awful because these people who fall for it tend to be fairly ill and desperate. So, yeah, it's pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. And delusional parasitosis is a thing. It's usually on the skin, but intestinal manifestations are the same kind of thing. And basically, if you consume a substance, an irritant like turpentine, the interior of your gut sloughs off. But I really enjoy these guys going through their toilet with usually like eating utensils going, look at that, that's a worm. No, that's your gut lining right there.
Oh, God.
It's
this reminds me.
I mean, you mentioned briefly MMS. That is like a huge cornerstone of MMS to go through yours or your child's poo and bits of them and saying that, hey, this is proof that this stuff works. It's actually quite a nasty cornerstones of this quackery.
Yes, this also reminds me. I noticed you've covered Jilly Juice. She actually blocks me on Twitter. I've talked to her quite a bit. We've had Jeff Holiday on before, who's actually covered her as well. Yeah, so I actually met him.
I steal most of my ideas from Jeff.
So he and I were on a separate channel, and I had gone through because I have a science background. Actually, I'm in academia now, but
Mel. Huh? Maybe you could give for the audience a thumbnail of the wonder that is Dr. Jilly Juice, and what she does and where you can buy it. And,
God, you can be part of her secret Facebook group. Actually, she was under investigation by the Ohio DA because she takes fermented cabbage. So it's like kimchi, but really awful. And she ferments it. And I have a video we can watch later if you want of her showing year-old fermented cabbage that she mixes with an extremely large amount of pink Himalayan salt. And then essentially she's saying this is increasing probiotics, and it causes waterfalls, which really all it does is give you explosive diarrhea. And it dehydrates you rapidly. 2 women have been hospitalized in the past for this. And so the Ohio DA stepped in and was like, you need to give us some kind of support for your claims. And I actually got a copy of her response, and I went through and started redlining it. The first thing I did was look at her sources. The dictionary, that's one. Encyclopedia Britannica is another. And one that I wanted to find out what it was.
Encyclopedia Britannica, what, 1956, right? I bet it was like more than 20 years ago.
It was a link. She put links in. And then another one was a link to the Paul Revere Wikipedia page.
Right, so.
And I was,
wait,
like, okay, why is
the
that
English?
there?
The English are coming.
The English are coming, guy.
And the English too, because she also cited the dictionary, from what I understand.
Yes, she cited the dictionary, but she also, the Paul Revere thing, she cited Paul Revere Wikipedia page because she was essentially equating the first response of the immune system to Paul Revere warning everybody about the British. That was why she needed to make that citation.
Have you ever watched her videos? Her like 2-hour long videos where she just vomits garbage.
Yes.
It's difficult to watch. I've watched a few of them, and you're there and you're like, where did this start? I mean, come on now. But she's got a book. She's got a couple of books out, self-published. And few people have fallen for this.
Oh my God.
Have you read all of her books, by the way?
I can't read her books. I tried to read her response, and I thought, I need to go take a break and a walk and maybe read a science book after this. What were you going to say, Doc? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. And the health claims that are made and the scientific claims that are made are invariably equivalent to the claims made by paranormal investigators, i.e., if you believe all of the bullshit to begin with, when you feel a little bit spooked, that's the spirits. It doesn't mean that they're real. So if you eat a whole bunch of salt and rotten cabbage, you're going to shit your guts out. And you'll feel better when you stop doing that. Therefore, that's medicine.
That's what my mother says about shiatsu massage. Once it stops, then you feel fine.
Yeah. And a whole bunch of things will make you feel better. The very act of taking action to make yourself feel better will make yourself feel better, but it doesn't make it medicine. And rotten cabbage, I mean, you feed it to your cows. I mean, if they probably like it. I don't know. Or Koreans, they like that too. But the whole thing with the salt and the magic woo-woo, nah, that's a scam.
She actually was.
Himalayan salt is magic salt, though, right?
The magic salt.
It's totally different. Yeah. Ooh.
She was essentially told she could not say that something cured a thing or treated a thing, and if she were to continue to do that, she would be fined.
Yeah. Now she hides behind her Facebook privacy groups and her own little forum. She's still doing it. Yeah. She's still telling people, "Hey, don't worry, this stuff will cure all your ailments." It's just hidden now. We can't really see it.
Yeah. All you need to do is say, reports indicate that this might happen. And by reports, it can be Joe the Ragman telling you that his lumbago was cured by an onion knock. That's fine, as long as you say at the end, the FDA have not evaluated any of these blah, 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 blah. So most people, Joe Public, the difference between anecdote and data. If they're desperate, they'll spend money on onions for their socks or homeopathy or any other bullshit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, people do fall for this. I mean, it's okay, like, having a bit of a joke. It is far out, and because it's so far out, there's very few people who actually do fall for it. But there's still some people who are just right at the end, and they think this could potentially work for them. What's the harm, you know?
Yeah.
And it's truly awful. It's truly parasitic. Because again, I think Jilly is one of these second-generation quacks. Someone who isn't making a lot of money off this, but someone who's doing it because she gets all the attention. And you can tell this from her videos where she's like, I'm the one with the info. I'm the one who can do this. these other people, you know, they're trying to sell you stuff. No, it's all about me. I just want to do this because she and other people like her aren't getting the recognition they think they deserve in real life, and so they're going online where they can pretend to be anyone, where they can pretend, you know, that they didn't have to go to, you know, medical school for so many years and be one of those fancy, you know, scientists. No, no, no. I'm better than them. I can tell you what's really hurting you, and I can tell you how to cure it. Give me attention and praise. And it's very well, it's sad for a start, but it's also just an awful thing to do. And there are so many examples out there of people like this who say, "Oh, well, I'm not making any money." No, but you're still getting something from it. You parasite.
Yeah. If I say to someone who is terminally ill, give me $1,000 and I can cure you, an ordinarily sensible and rational person is very, here's an alternative, do this, and it will work for you. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, they're too dead to complain. And ultimately, that's what we're saying. However, for me, the major issue is when alternative therapies, some of which are very effective, many of which are not, or counterproductive, keep people away from legitimate medicine, and as a result, die unnecessarily early and often grotesque deaths.
I mean, there's studies that have come out. I write quite a bit on my website about articles, and I try to kind of make it accessible for people what current science is talking about how people who choose alternative medicines over medical intervention, particularly in breast cancer, are at an extremely higher risk for death. I mean, they've crunched the numbers, and they're coming out with this saying, hey, you cannot seek treatment through alternative medicine and expect to have a high success rate for survival even. So, and we covered Dr. Spines just a few weeks ago, Doc, on how he's using
who's
his...
Dr. Spines?
Oh, I'll send you the episode. Dr. Spines is a clinic in, I believe in Alabama, and his wife had stage 4 breast cancer. She did not get any medical treatment. He claims to have cured her completely of her stage 4 cancer, but she died due to complications in surgery not associated with her cancer. So he's saying that essentially medical intervention killed her, but he cured her of cancer prior to her death.
I hate that, because that is like, all these things are, they're just cookie cutter. They're all the same. And when anyone's on this crappery, they'll always say, oh, if the person died, oh, it's because right at the end they gave up and they went to conventional medicine and that's what killed them. You hear it all the time. It is the go-to excuse. I mean, these things, they're almost like colored by number. You can find any kind of quacker out there and you can be like, okay, right, you've got your stuff here. How is it different? You know, how is the medical establishment trying to suppress it? Why isn't this been out before? Why have people died on it? And you can just copy and paste them from Dilly Juice to Turpentine to MMS. It's all the same, and it's all awful.
The thing that made me really angry, just for a second, Doc, just for 1 second, I'll let you hop in, is that I called the clinic because he offered cancer coaching therapy. And I called the clinic to find out what it was, because he just lost his wife this past spring. And I thought, do I really want to go after a guy that just lost his wife? Maybe he's grieving. And I, you know, because I'm not a heartless person. Then I called, and that's what they're telling customers, potential customers, is that he cured her of her cancer. And I'm like, yeah, no, he's going down. I don't care. I'm like, I don't care.
What was the surgery for? Was it perchance to remove a massive fungated inoperable tumor?
Oh, God.
That kind of happens.
It was related to her lungs. Apparently, her lungs were filling up with fluid. But they said it was related to a car accident she had gotten into a week prior. I'm skeptical of that. You know, breast cancer can spread to the lungs. It's like right there. So it's just,
I mean, if you want to survive cancer, go and have cancer screening regularly, and if you can access treatment, access it, and then go for follow-up after treatment. And a lot of tumors are very treatable these days. What not to do is bury your head in the sand, eat apricot kernels, and pretend it isn't happening. Then go in with stage 4, and you're done, or most of the time you're done. So yeah, guys, go and get that prostate checked. I know it's not a pleasant sight, but you know, dying an unnecessarily early death also not the best thing.
Yeah. I don't particularly like going to get my annual either, but I still do it. And then I treat myself to ice cream afterwards. It's like, okay, if I go get my annual, maybe I'll go have a mimosa or an ice cream. I'll make it a pleasant experience, take the whole day off. You know, I'll do something nice for myself, because that is doing something nice for yourself. But I kind of feel like I'm a Muppet and it's Jim Henson. Sometimes I imagine it's that way, and then it makes it funny. So,
Sorry,
like,
I just got that.
I'm just Miss Piggy today. Hello there.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you out. Just shove it right in. Okay, woo, it's over. But
So
still, it's important to do that.
In the same way as you get your car inspection because you have to, you go to the dentist whether you have a toothache or not, mostly. Get yourself checked out and get treatment early and surgery early if you need it, and live a long, happy life. Or go the quack route and fucking die, you know, if you want. It's entirely up to you. Which raises the point, I've got one level of concern over people making decisions for themselves. People can be idiots. I've got another level of concern for people making decisions for children. With the whole Munchausen's by proxy avenue, particularly anti-vax, but MMS too. This is essentially, in my view, torturing kids for reasons that I cannot identify with at all. Myles, what do you think?
I think the vaccine one, most people I've met who are anti-vax are not necessarily, are not bad people. They do care about their kids.
Absolutely.
But they don't see polio, they don't see smallpox, obviously. They don't see really
measles,
very often measles, mumps, rubella very often. And so they think that the act of taking their child to get vaccinated is the risk. And they even though it's only like a small risk, they still don't want to take it because they don't see the effects. Or even if they do look them up, how many people died of measles in the last year? It's not many. But you never hear about the people who are hurt by it. You never hear about the people who got mumps after they went through puberty. You never hear about people who lost children. Those numbers are never reported. So,
or even the sterility associated. They can't even have kids with certain diseases men can contract in adulthood, causes them to be sterile, or they can't even have children. So I mean,
death is one of the sequelae of measles, in its sterility of mumps, but deafness, neurological deficits, blindness, all of these things. And
but it's never reported, so they only really talk about death numbers, and because that's ridiculously low in comparison, I think there's a misunderstanding of measles. There's so many people I've talked to who are anti-vax, and you talk about measles. That's just a childhood illness. It's fine. You get over it.
Yeah,
no,
everyone
it can be fairly serious. I'm not a medic, and I know it can be really quite nasty.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, the culture has changed dramatically even since I was a kid, because I had measles, I had chicken pox, and I got over them, and I was very fortunate. But as these things exploded in the community, roughly the expected number of people were injured or died, and it was 1 or 2 in the entire community. So, you know, but that doesn't need to happen anymore. So it's unfortunate, but I think you're absolutely correct. The absence of morbidity associated with infectious disease that we've grown accustomed to has given us a sense of security that is very tenuous in epidemiological terms. Herd immunity stops working below a certain coverage, you know.
I know, but how can you reach these people though? Because the same ones who I found, the same people who are very anti-vax are very pro other kinds of woo as well, and believe that they. I mean, they're not. Like I said, they're not bad parents.
Not bad people. No.
Yeah, there's a study that I saw. I can't remember. I think I did a video on it a while ago about one particular area in the US started to promote something called community immunity. And what they did was, instead of having healthcare, no, for real, it was called that for obvious reasons. But what they did is, instead of having healthcare professionals go out into the community and discuss vaccine safety, they had parents do it. Parents who had vaccinated their kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they went into the schools, they went into, different highly populated organizations, and they made themselves available to talk about all the things that they did with their kids to get their kids vaccinated, because there's such a distrust associated with healthcare professionals. Parents who vaccinated their kids helped make the materials and were the liaisons, and they found that people who were on the fence actually came over to the vaccine side.
Oh, really?
Then so you can't get through to the anti-vaxxers, not 100%. The people you got to worry about are the ones that haven't totally decided yet. And so they found
I agree with you. I mean, I do a seminar on this and look at the numbers and then look at graphic representations of them, like family grave plots from the 18th and 19th and early 20th century, with mum and dad and 5 little tiny graves, and go scarlet fever, measles, rubella, whooping cough, pneumonia, meningitis, and so on. And we don't see that. And that's great. And the reason we don't see it, well, there are a few, but one of them is herd immunity. And alarmingly, to reach the anti-vaxxers, dead kids. That's the way. It's unfortunate, but it seems to work. And when that happens, people have to sit up and pay attention to it.
So what are the ways do you reckon you could get people to vaccinate their children and vaccinate themselves as well? Because, I mean, recently I haven't seen it, but there's a new Vaxxed film came out, hasn't it? There seems to be so much online.
Vaxxed too. I haven't seen the first Vaxxed. I have a hard time watching stuff like that.
So boring.
The first one was an episode of fraud, quite frankly, because the arguments were so flawed and totally debunked and founded on ignorance that it's like, if this is the best you can do, I mean.
But the general population might eat it up, at least portions of it, because not everybody. Okay, come on. I used to teach secondary school. I'm now in academia, college level, and it's like the amount of critical thinking is so exceedingly low. I mean, we're actually getting dumber. So, I mean, you look at the National Science Foundation surveys associated with understanding basic concepts of science, it's getting worse in the US.
It really?
It is. It used. Okay, here's a stat.
I mean, the US, but in the first world, the developed world.
You can look over. You can look over in Europe. Europe has issues too. They do some stuff over there in the EU.
Yeah, that's right. But America, you're really good at. You're getting awesome at reality TV and blowing shit up.
Oh God!
Focus a little bit on the education business.
Oh, I want to put my head through the wall all the time. So it's like, but it's the statistic from I believe it was 2015, was 24% of the U.S. population thinks the sun revolves around the Earth. It's now 27.
No, really?
Yes, really.
40%.
Over
40% believe in. 40% believe in angels. 50% believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
And there's still a huge resistance to evolution education. Speaking of which, we'll have Dr. Amanda Glaze on here in a couple weeks, who works in evolution education, overcoming cultural biases associated with that. That's her whole thing. So we have a lot of cool people on here that pop on. But yeah, so 27%, Myles. What am I going to do with that? Geocentrism is a big thing.
I have no idea. That is news to me. I've got to admit. Yeah. But no, go back to what you said originally about kids and is it child abuse?
Yes.
I'm not. I mean, it's all personally. I'm not sure anti-vax really would go into child. I mean, it's there. I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
I do. But when it comes to like MMS, when it comes to turpentine therapy, chili juice, if you force your child to have that, I'm very strong believer that you should have your child taken away from you. You're not a fit parent. That is
I think
abuse.
those things are intrinsically different. They're in the same general direction, but one is, dramatically more horrific than the other.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you see, what's really awful, the MMS pages back in the day, where you'd see parent after parent just talking about how hard it is to get their kid to consume this stuff and what they can do to make them drink more of it. And you're like, oh, that's abuse. You're forcing your kid to drink bleach. It's awful.
There are lawsuits coming out now from spouses suing their spouses who are forcing their kids to drink this bleach water. If you're not familiar with MMS, a little bit of chemistry. Essentially, what happens is you take two different components of bleach, put them together, and then the product, there's a small little reaction that happens, and the product is industrial strength bleach. So and they're feeding this to their baby saying, oh, well, this is going to cure their disease. This is going to prevent their disease. This is going to cure their autism. It's a cure-all is what they're promoting, but it's absolutely horrible. And so there are lawsuits now where certain spouses are suing their other spouse and trying to bring up criminal charges to keep them from feeding their babies bleach.
I can't believe you'd have to do that. I think you'd have to just take the kid away from that. I can't believe the law authorities aren't just saying, well, no. Yeah.
I mean, this indicates that, I mean, that's willful disregard for well-being, or at least something of that nature. And for anyone who's ambiguous or concerned in the audience, MMS is a really, really good way to kill your kid. You'll be lucky if you don't, and if you don't, your kid will be traumatized forever by what you've done.
No, I mean, I've drank MMS. It's awful stuff. I've drank weak MMS, and it tastes exactly how you'd think it would taste. It tastes just like chlorine. If you can imagine like concentrated chlorine from a swimming pool, it tastes and smells like that. As opposed to killing them, I think you'd have to consume a fair amount. But not out of the realms of possibility. And when it comes to, it's odd as well, because this little nugget of truth that they always go off. So MMS, chlorine dioxide, is a water purifier. You can buy tablets if you go camping, and you can use it to purify your water. And these people think, oh, we can use it to purify your body. One thing they always forget is that with these tablets, once you generate this chlorine dioxide in situ, you then have to leave it for a given amount of time. It's usually I think it's like between half an hour and an hour, 4 hours, depending on the concentration. And the reason why they ask you to do that is so the chlorine dioxide is gone. So you won't actually consume it. They also recommend to use it in much smaller doses than these charlatans, these quacks ask you to use it in. But yeah, this little nugget of truth, they'll go on. When you try and correct them, they're like, no, listen to the instructions. It's much lower concentration. It's asking for 4 hours. The reason why it's doing that is so there's no chlorine dioxide left. Do you understand that? No. It's proof that this stuff is going to cure you, and the medical companies want to hide it from you.
There's an analogous situation with colloidal silver. So colloidal silver, essentially, basically molecular silver in solution, is a really good topical antiseptic. If you get a cut and you use that, that's fine. It's like using iodine. But consuming it will kill bacteria in your intestine where they need to be, but you also assimilate that silver and turn blue like a Smurf. So it doesn't do you any good. You end up looking ridiculous.
It's weird, isn't it? Because there's always this little nugget of truth there, isn't it, on most of this stuff. Like, have you heard of black salve before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you heard of black
salve?
Tell
us a bit about it.
Yeah. So black salve is a paste that. Do you want the quack pitch? So the quack pitch is that it's a paste that will hunt out and specifically kill cancer cells. So if you put it on you and you don't have cancer, it won't react. You'll be fine. However, if you do have cancer, it will burn that cancer out of you, and it's a completely natural way of doing that. in reality, this stuff will burn whatever it comes into contact with. And so if you put it on your flesh, it will just melt holes in you. I'm not being over dramatic here. Literal holes, like huge ones. I've seen people with like things in the side of their head where they put the stuff on, and it kind of backs into this what people think medicine do. So when people put it on them, it hurts, and so it's proof that this is working. Oh, it physically burnt me. It's proof that what I self-diagnosed as cancer is actually cancer. And if you go into like the Black Salve Facebook groups, you'll see this people saying, "Oh, I had this skin tag, or I had this thing I wasn't quite sure I put it on, but it burnt it. Therefore, I saved myself from cancer. Therefore, the pharmaceutical companies are not going to get my money, and I've circumnavigated them." In reality, they've just burnt a serious chunk of themselves off.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the saddest thing in that community is when people do have cancer and they do treat it this way, and they end up maiming themselves and then dying of said cancer.
Here's the little nugget as well. It was once originally, for a small amount of time, used to treat certain skin cancers. You can put it on, and the reason why they could use it is because it left the tissue somewhat kind of intact, relatively. But it was shite. It hurt like fuck. It was really hard to manage, all these kind of problems. And so someone was like, well, can't we just freeze it off? Wouldn't that be a better way of doing it? Oh, yeah. And then this is going back, 70, 80 years ago. Times have changed since then. Yet this little nugget remains. And then people use that, they run with it and say, oh, this is what the medical establishment is trying to hide. This was really so good back in the day. We can still use it now. It's all natural. Bollocks. Not all natural. And bollocks, we've moved on from that.
Yeah.
Don't Google
snake
it.
venom is all natural. Snake venom is all natural. You can inject that in you, and it'll kill all kinds of things.
And if you look back at older medical texts, and I'm talking about 14th century medical texts, black salve and things like it were common, and they will burn off warts and any kind of weird skin thing that you have by burning the fuck out of your body. So there is medicine there. It's just not exactly what they say it is, and we've really done better. We can kind of intervene in a more effective way now, really.
But that's what a shill like you would say, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Because my entire life, my academic training, my life experience, and my profession are all because I want to hurt people and make money, right? If that was the case, I would be either a mercenary or a corporate lawyer, not doing what I do.
Yeah.
It's do you guys ever get call shills then?
Oh yeah, I caused autism. That was me.
You personally. You bought.
I'm a NASA shill since I've been dealing with flat earthers, so I'm a NASA shill.
I'm a NASA shill. I've been called a Monsanto shill because I educated people about GMOs once, and then I talked about glyphosate and what the science actually says. You're a Monsanto shill. I'm like, I really wish I kind of was, because I'd have a lot of money.
Monsanto owns so much money at the moment. Or Bayer.
GMOs.
I actually had.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Myles, GMOs a few years ago? Sorry, what was that?
GMOs, we're all doomed, That's why we all turn into potatoes every time we eat French fries.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I actually gave a talk a few years ago about GMOs, and I actually had a guy get up in my face and be like, well, multiple people. One of them was like, you're spreading propaganda, and another one was like, you should start your talk by saying you work for Monsanto because it's really disingenuous that you haven't done that. Which I was like, I don't work for Monsanto. Where did you get that from? Yeah, so people, can be quite aggressive towards us, especially online. I feel like
really
people
are.
Have no filter and they just go for
it. Just be a woman on the internet that has intelligence of some sort and might, says no to a guy, and then it's like 4 weeks of, and you're like, oh my God, okay.
Internet can be a fun place.
I had a guy debunk me using my own paper and patent on the subject, and him telling me what it says, which isn't what it said, was very funny. It's like, really? How do you know that? I'm like, I fucking wrote it. I wrote this. This is my shit. Well, it says
I
this.
love,
no, it doesn't.
The daftest one I've ever had was someone made a fake Facebook group about me, fake Facebook profile even about me, and it just was like kind of like the reverse colors of my actual Facebook, and then it just said "twat" above me with an arrow pointing to me. But what made it absolutely fantastic was this numpty registered the name in the Facebook page in his own name, so the URL was blah 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 blah, something like James Conroy or something. So I was like, oh James, that's really, I was like, oh that's really cool. Yeah, quite insulting. Probably want to change that URL, James. And straight away, gone, disappeared.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mostly get hate videos calling me worse than a Nazi, and because I won't talk to certain people. I've been called a Jewish man pretending to be a woman. I'm not trans.
Totally. And you're transphobic, you fucking Jewish man. And
I'm
that was
transphobic.
anti-Semitic. I'm not tolerating you.
I was anti-Semitic. Apparently I can single-handedly get people banned on Twitter. I didn't realize I had that
single-handedly.
power.
That's a good task. A good ability.
I would start with the Nazis, not trans women who sell nudes. I don't care.
I've had a few anti-Semitic comments as well, which is weird because I'm not Jewish. But I joked in one of my videos that nothing would convince these people, not even if I stood in front of a picture of my first Holy Communion with my cock out eating a bacon sandwich, they still would probably believe that I was part of this Jewish Illuminati. And as for Nazis, I can raise you for this one as well. I was once I was once complimented by a Nazi, a legit Nazi, for being right. Yeah, so I did like a whole genetic profiling thing where you look for SMPs and all the rest of it. And I basically just talked about SMPs. It was a whole ginger joke kind of thing going on, and I made it all public because I didn't really care. And I had some Nazi congratulate me on how genetically pure I was, and I did not know how to react to that. What do you say to that? Oh, thanks. You're so British.
That's so painful. I bet you had a quiet moment of deep thought about that one. Jesus, what am I doing? The Nazis. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Oh God! Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I still bring it up because I think it's the funniest thing ever. But so weird. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I have a question for
you. Nazis aren't friends of the show. They never will be, but they're hilarious. And we should all make fun of every Nazi that we come across. They once, the neo-Nazi group in Toronto wanted to recruit me because I'm shaped the way I am and colored the way I am and have blue eyes. And I'm like, you fuckers murdered a third of my family. Can you not even spot someone that would be Jewish if you hadn't murdered his family? They're like, oh, sorry. Oh, wrong guy.
Oh my God.
But there are good people on that side. There are good people on that side of the fence.
Oh my God. I don't want to talk about Trump. Jesus Christ. God, I just put my head I avoid all of I can't. I read news on him, but I can't listen to him talk because it's like nails on a chalkboard. I just like have some kind of strange reaction to where
Myles is living in the era of Boris Johnson, who incidentally not one damn person ever fucking voted for. Just saying, nobody voted for him, right?
Oh,
well, you don't vote for your prime minister, but at least I guess he was voted in like Theresa May, so that makes any sense. Theresa May didn't have any competition; she just became, But still, it's a bizarre world we live in where Boris is my prime minister. Yeah, that's very scary. The guy who slagged off Liverpool and.
So I have a question.
Did you say you had a question?
I do. I have a question for you. So I sent you some links to some videos that we were probably going to riff on.
Yeah.
Is there a particular one that you want us to go through? Doc hasn't seen any of them. He usually comes into this cold.
Yeah. What the fuck is that chemist guy? The People's Chemist, was it? I can't remember.
Why Big Pharma profits from keeping you sick? That guy?
Cool.
All right. Yeah. That's the fourth video in the Riff Videos file. Let's watch that one.
Yeah.
And see.
As a preemptive comment, I'm going to go to work tomorrow and over the next couple of weeks cure a whole bunch of cancer. Just, for individual patients, cure it. Fine.
You'll be the Oprah of cancer treatments.
Right.
Master's degree in organic chemistry. Right.
Ooh. Oh, he worked for
I'm
Eli.
a chemist. Hey. I love scientific method. Always have.
Yeah.
I have 2 masters.
When I worked for the drug industry, science was completely abandoned. These drug companies that I was interviewing with had no problem telling me, look, we design drugs based on treating symptoms. We don't cure. So
what?
That's a business model, okay, that allows you to give a drug to a person for life. They ran out of symptoms.
Can I chime in?
So what did they have to do?
Yeah.
The next level of drug advertising.
For a second. Yeah.
So the guy's he's full of shit. And if he had a master's in organic chemistry, his position within Lilly or any related biotech company was at the bottom of the heap, where policy decisions in terms of...
I feel like I'm being insulted here a little bit.
I have a master's in chemistry
I'm sorry.
too.
What I mean is, generally speaking, so involvement in policy level decisions and the generalization of his position that we treat symptoms, not cure, it's demonstrably not the case. So apologies. I'm saying when I hire people, if they have a master's, they're coming in not at the top of the executive committee, where
so what I was going to say is because I'm an organic chemist as well, and I work in industry. I'm not allowed to talk about what I do because I've been told I'll be fired on the spot if I ever do. But chemists, you're right, we're not lowest run. Interesting way of putting it, but we're essentially
I totally apologize for that generalized and generally accurate but specifically inaccurate statement.
Yeah, but it's essentially chemists. All we do is we build things. We have a molecule to make. We'll find a way of making it under budget or yada yada, or making it safely. That's what we do. Increasing yields. We don't really deal with like drug discovery. Really, it's not something we do. We're just the cooks. So for him to have all this kind of whatever the hell he's talking about. I'm sorry, no, I've been in the industry for a fair bit, and I know people. Obviously, I work with people, and we don't do that. We make stuff. That's what a chemist profession. That's what we do.
And, I mean, I'm involved at sort of the mode of action, bringing in things that are likely to actually work for development. And when I see something that itself as a functional cure for a condition, okay, ethically, I have to jump on that. Morally, of course I do. And in terms of business, it's really good business if you can say to people, we can fix this.
See, this kind of feeds into their idea. I say they. I'm bad at myself. Where people online believe that pharmaceutical industry is just one thing. They don't realize how cutthroat it is, that everyone is at each other's necks. And if they can make something that will just blow their competitor out of the water, they will do it. And this kind of this is why if there were like a cure for cancer, like all cancer is one thing, totally a company would be all over that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. I worked in industry for a short period of time in more of the analytical side, where it was protein recombination for diagnostic tests and that sort of thing, basically generating antigens through modified yeast and purifying it, and et cetera, et cetera. So I wasn't in on the policy sides or any of the development sides, even though the processes didn't work. And I kept saying that, and they're like, just follow the rule, just follow this. I'm like, if I do, it won't work. So there's a whole lot of stuff there that I think a lot of the general population doesn't see. And then this dude who isn't part of any of the policy making is coming out slamming big pharma.
Nothing he said is exactly incorrect. Treatment of symptoms is something that is necessary and valuable, but that's part of the picture. It's not all of the picture. And throughout my career, all this is anecdotal, so please consider it, pinch of salt, pound of salt, all makes you happy. I haven't come across anyone, not one person, who would turn away from a potential cure development for reasons of profit. And the reason that medicine costs is about 95 out of 100 that we try don't work, or don't work well enough to be developed. And each one of them is a write-off loss. But we have to have the funds to develop the 5 that are going to cure whatever in the future. So it is a big industry. Mistakes are made. There are people who make immoral and unethical decisions. But those are very few and very far between. And the reason for that is, 1, most people aren't bastards. And 2, it's really bad business when you kill your patients.
Well, they do. I mean, there are big examples of pharmaceutical companies being absolute twats. I mean, what was the antidepressant? SSIRs? I can't remember now. The ones
SSRIs, yeah.
Oh, that's sorry. Where they suppressed research that showed that if young people were to take them, it increases their suicidal tendencies.
Yeah,
and that was a huge thing, and that was definitely something that happened.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the case. And this is something that's now known and is kind of better managed. But yeah, horrible decisions have been made for bad reasons. I use these as teaching tools. I say to my people, this happened in this company for these reasons. Under the same circumstances, this is how you should actually act. And my guys, my various teams around the world, know that if they are suspicious, if they are concerned, if they just don't feel right about something, they have an open line to me at all times, 24/7, and that becomes my immediate priority. So we do have to guard against it, and we do have to guard against the over-commodification of medicine, and that's why I think social medicine and governmental management of it is essential. But it is an industry, and it has to be in order to fulfill the needs of the people who need the therapies. By way of example, remember HIV? Remember when AIDS killed everyone?
Yes.
That doesn't happen. When people have access to treatment, that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
And that's within my career.
We actually have organizations now, particularly one locally, that's a division of Friends for Life, that now offers PrEP for free. They have a clinic to where you can go and get those antivirals and have access to it. So even though it's an extremely expensive drug in, industry, which is a U.S. problem, largely a U.S. problem with us not having a national healthcare system. There are organizations who are working to make that available to where you can. And I find it pretty interesting that a lot of our government wants to shut down some of these organizations, including Planned Parenthood, who doesn't just see women, but also men. They're like a reproductive health clinic for both men and women. So you can go there and get a check for prostate cancer. You can get STI tested, all of these things. So it's just like, so this is always like a big thing for me. I just want to go on for days and days. And I could talk forever about that because I get so angry. It's like, what's the point in making all these treatments if they're not available to people?
Yeah.
One thing I was, go back.
Carry on,
one thing
Myles,
I found quite interesting about people who say that they just want to manage symptoms. There's no profitability in the cure. These the same people who say that also are very anti-vax, which to me doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and from an economic perspective, drug companies shouldn't make vaccines. Vaccines are a shit product in terms of cost versus profit. They're minor profit. The reason that they're made economically is because of making tens of millions of doses. But from a strictly capitalistic income-based business model, nobody would make vaccines, especially not polio, smallpox, measles, mumps, rubella, cholera, typhoid, diphtheria, pertussis, because there is no margin there. It's fractions of a cent per dose.
But yeah, then again, I mean, it just this one I really don't get, because we do have cures for things. which surely should absolutely blow out the water this idea that there is no money in a cure, or even if there is no money in a cure, people will still want it. Without going into too much detail about what I do, there's certain things that I've made in the past that the companies are losing. Well, healthcare, got to be careful what I say here. They're going to pretty much break even, if not lose money on this kind of stuff. But there is a need for it. There is an ethical reason to do this, because people require these drugs that are out of patent, that they need them to survive, and so they will still get made. It's not like as soon as something becomes completely uncommercial that it just ceases to exist. That's not how really this kind of works. I know it seems to go against, and it doesn't seem to be very capitalistic, but it definitely, these things still happen.
But even
Absolutely.
Evolution is a thing, and evolution is a thing, and we're going to have viruses that pop up and change and evolve over time. Illness is never going to go away. So this idea that we're going to cure everything, then the pharmacy companies are going to go out of business. That's not how it works. That's not how it's ever worked.
I'd really like that, because I'd really like to be a farmer, and maybe raise pigs. And the minute kids stop getting cancer and people stop burning out their fucking organs, there are many, many different things that I could do. So yeah, I'd be delighted. And screw the money. I'd be happy with people not dying in misery. A big part of my work,
you selfish bastard,
is anticipating the need for changes to existing medications based on evolution, and also scouting out orphan diseases for which no treatment exists, where maybe 50 people in the entire global population deal with them, and then trying to help those people. And there is no money to be made in that. Zero. It's an enormous loss, but it's an ethical duty. So, God, I'm evil, apparently.
You're evil. So I have a question. Do you guys want to continue to watch the video, or do you want to watch something else? What do you think?
No, let's watch this also, because I want to talk a bit more about him. I don't know. Okay. I want to see more. I'm going to watch more videos after this, I think, of him, because he's a fellow chemist. I would love to know his views on stuff. I love the whole, there's no money in a cure, also buy my supplements. What? Yeah, it's so transparent.
Listen
really
to this guy, because listen to the bald chemist guy, because bald chemist guy has special hidden knowledge that is being hidden from everyone except him,
it's part of
because reasons.
Naughty. All right, well, let's keep watching it, man.
Is inventing disease. When you run out of symptoms, you don't have any more clientele.
They're inventing disease, guys.
To market to. So you have to invent disease. And
oh my God.
With psychiatric medications, you can invent diseases all day long. There's 2 words that a psychiatrist fears. 2 words. Prove it. And if the doctor can't do it, 9 times out of 10 they can't, then don't take the drug.
It kind of looks like a mummy.
Patient in the position of power. I wondered, as a chemist, I'm making these drugs. They're proving deadly in our labs, and they're proving deadly in other labs. Dangerous, ineffective, causing the exact same thing they're supposed to treat. How are they selling them?
Really?
How are they selling them? And they have the marketing department. Big Pharma has the best marketing department in the world. Geniuses. You simply
actually no, our marketing department. They're definitely
doctors.
They're lovely, but they're definitely not geniuses.
Psychiatrists to report that the study showed positive results. You're paying them. You're buying.
I'm pretty certain he has some kind of psychosis.
At least 125,000 people dying every year from prescription drugs. You would think that you'd spend more in research to try to offset the death toll.
Maybe we need to have a national health care system. I don't know. That might help
Hypnotize the masses.
That's one thing
hypnotize them and
like
drug them, and get them into their psychiatrist so they can swallow the next Cymbalta or the next Prozac or whatever they're going to package it as and name it as.
Okay, let's pause it.
Industry making
let's pause it and chime in.
A lot of people sick and profiting on it.
Can I play the mentally ill privilege card here? I mean, there's very little privilege associated with it, but I'd like to chime in.
Go on.
Sure.
Everyone okay with that? Yep.
Yeah,
SSRIs,
sure.
I've been taking them in one form or another for about 30 years. And some of them work really well for me and some of them don't. But this douchebag knows dick all. There's an enormous population of people who remain functional and stable and highly productive, like myself, as a function of effective medication for things like anxiety and depression, PTSD, other psychiatric conditions. For him to belittle that and cast it aside with a single blanket statement saying these things don't work is both insulting, incorrect, and dangerous. I went off meds for various reasons about 2 weeks ago. Within 2 days, I was immobile and basically totally non-functional. And I'm fine, and I go back to work tomorrow to go and cure cancer. So fuck him is basically what I'm saying.
What are your thoughts, Myles? I know you had various things you wanted to discuss.
It goes back to what I said before. It's all cookie cutter, isn't it? You could you could look at this guy's script, and you could give it to any other quack, and it's exactly the same. Pharmaceutical companies, you know, they just invent stuff. All this kind of it's all bollocks. And one thing that I have noticed, it's all very American central. You guys notice that as well?
Very much.
So most of the theories that they have never work outside of America. And I don't know. I don't know how an organic chemist, presumably he's just like me, could say this kind of shite.
He probably isn't working anywhere.
No. But the blanket statements that, you know, every single, you know, almost the implication that every psychological mental health issue is just made up, which is definitely the implied thing that I got from that. It's just a dick move, isn't it? Oh, by the way, buy my supplements. Fuck you. You know?
It's aggravating to me because I have family that has been suicidal due to not being on medication. It's a brain chemistry thing. I mean, you can literally see it's chemistry stuff that you can't control, and this whole idea that it's just made up. It just makes me nuts.
But if I'd been born in the 1870s rather than the 1970s, I wouldn't be ill. I would be described as melancholic, and I would almost certainly have been dead by now.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been viewed as a pathology. It would be that person is fucking miserable from birth. And
I would have been in a mental institution because of my epilepsy, because that was considered evil spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even 100 years ago, that was, you know, incompletely understood and certainly not medicated. And, you know, you're in your 30s now? Cool.
I'm 47, so I'm...
Right. So, you'd be dead. Be as dead as I would be, but, you know, different reasons.
Yeah.
So, we created that illness and then fixed it. Or rather, we described something that was already present and medicated it effectively. So,
did you miss the line where it says it gives you medicine to make you ill? The actual medicine causes the symptoms. What the fuck is that? That is some AIDS denialism level kind of bollocks right there.
Yeah, that was what got me at a scientific level. Well, this molecule kills things in the lab, therefore we're going to market it as medicine, as no developmental chemist ever said. That is the opposite of how that works. Oh shit. To go from a molecule to a medicine, you have to, by law, go through multiple steps, including ex vivo testing, in vivo testing in animals, various levels of testing in people before you even get to the point of saying the medicine could work. Before any of that happens, you establish that your treatment is not in itself harmful. And we don't guess on this. This is a defined thing. And it has to be done, and it's done for every new medical compound that's developed.
Gosh, and it's at least here the running like 10 years for a treatment or medication to actually get to market on average. So
at least.
How do you think these people can get away with because looking for a few other videos, he's definitely selling stuff and promoting this idea of he knows best. How can you get away with saying such things? Is it just because it's coming across as someone's his opinion rather than medical advice?
If you have a carefully legally defined script and an associated disclaimer, you can say whatever you want within limits.
Oh God!
And if you don't charge money for the advice, then you can say whatever you want. You charge money for the advice as a health coach or similar, then that isn't protected by the First Amendment. If it's pro bono and you just happen to be selling a whole bunch of shit, you're in kind of the sweet spot in terms of freedom of speech, communication, and so on, with the associated disclaimer, which says, I don't know dick all, and what hasn't been assessed by anything, and frankly, I made it all up, but I'm telling you that, so it's okay. Buy my shit.
If you look,
what a depressing thing to say.
Yeah,
but I think you're right.
That's the truth of the matter.
In the United
if you go
States,
to the FDA, in the U.S., the
FDA and the supplement issue, like the FDA considers a lot of this stuff dietary supplements, not medicine. So
if it's dietary supplements, you can sell just about anything as an addition to what you normally eat. If you say, hey, this has a lot of vitamin C. Vitamin C has been linked in a nutrient that is this and this and this. But our product, these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, isn't meant to be any kind of treatment, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it's teeny tiny little stuff that's at the bottom of the website. You have to scroll all the way down to get to it. They'll present some bad science and say, look, here's this thing that's been linked to this one time 20 years ago. Buy our stuff. And by the way, the FDA hasn't looked at any of this. It's just a supplement.
Yeah, and here's a bunch of anecdotes. But the other, I mean, this strikes close to my wheelhouse because I'm an analytical guy. Once you declare your product to be a supplement, the requirements of good manufacturing practice, GMP, are out of the window. And also the required quality control, which means potency testing, stability testing, identity testing, and validation of those tests is out of the window. So if it says
seriously,
this thing
as soon as something becomes as soon as something becomes a supplement, CGMP is not an issue anymore.
Nope.
Nope. Not an
That's
issue.
mental.
It's a recommendation. And a
recommendation for a supplement, something a human would take to know where your stuff is coming from and that it's being manufactured correctly.
It's food. They have to do basic sterility testing, or rather bioburden testing, to be within the parameters established for food grade products, and that's it, and that's all. So when you take a supplement that says it contains 5 units of X, it might be 5, or it might be 1, or it might be 12, and the batches might differ. And if you keep it at room temperature for 3 weeks, or in the fridge for 5 weeks, you have no idea what you're taking. It might not even be the thing that's on the bottle. You have no idea, or rather, you have no guarantee defined in law, which is why we have the FDA and things like that.
Yeah, if it doesn't have any kind of actual drug or treatment for a thing, and if it doesn't cause any harm, you can absolutely sell it and say, these things might help with your cold. These things might help when you travel. These things might help with your mucosal membranes. Now, there was a supplement called Zicam that people were squirting up their nose to try to help them recover from colds and lower the amount of mucus. It ended up causing some people lost the sense of smell. And so they had to recall it off of, that's when the FDA intervenes. Oh, wait, people got hurt by your supplement. Now we're going to recall it. That's the thing that they do.
Well, I tell you what, talking to you guys is making me rather depressed. So I had no idea.
I have a funny thing we can watch, actually. I make fake, totally not fake commercials from not fake sponsors. They're fake. And it's totally not me that's voicing them either. So, cool.
I'd love to see that.
I sell a line of Doc Savage satire child-sized caskets with "I told you so." side.
That is dark.
It's a little dark, isn't it? Just a tiny
little bit, a smidgen there, buddy.
Oh,
yeah.
Doc, well, I'm going to start making new t-shirts for you.
I've presently got a 3 for 2 discount, which is even darker.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, so let's pull this commercial up. It's no, that's it. Yeah. I decided to put an intro on there this time. Dr. Geriatric is returning to us. Has Big Pharma got you down? Are you worried that Big Pharma is making you sick? Do you need medical advice from an ND, not doctor? Fear not, I am Dr. Geriatric, here to meet your medical needs. You might remember me from a previous commercial where I offer old world medicine just shy of the Victorian era and right around the establishment of germ theory. I am back to tell you about our latest immune booster full of all natural ingredients. We are going back to the Louis Pasteur time and scraping animal pox and injecting it into you to help boost your immune system to combat the more harsh diseases. We're going back to the good old days of early medicine where everything wasn't complicated by Big Pharma and the FDA in cahoots to keep you sick. This is how it works. We'll just give you easier diseases that might protect you from worse diseases. Now, we can't guarantee that you'll be immune, and there's a chance that you might die, but hey, at least you won't be contributing to the Big Pharma mafia, you know? We have a special disease club where you can punch off your diseases and at the end get a discount on sore treatment when you fill up your punch card. So come into Geriatric. We have appointments available on the weekends, and you can bring in whoever you want because we're all about communicable diseases and we share those. So stop worrying about Big Pharma Mafia and come see the good old Dr. Geriatric for your pre-medical regulation, non-FDA treatments. We are all about making things as natural as possible, and this might encourage natural selection to select against you, but that's the circle of life. Y'all all love that. So come see me today. There you go.
Oh, the nice guitar riff in the background just makes that perfect, by the way. I'm loving that. That's quite cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We try to shake it up a bit here. I've had several different types of commercials on these shows. So I don't know. The last one was Butt Hurt and Wine, the law offices of Butt Hurt and Wine for white fragility. I think that was one.
You're feeling feeling fragile. I'm feeling very fragile today.
Yeah, we should talk a bit.
So I'm going to ask. So I know we've kind of been on the side of I guess Big Pharma at the moment. I mean, we briefly talked about times where research was kind of suppressed, and well, now with the all trial things are a lot more transparent. But there is certainly, I mean, issues out there why people wouldn't necessarily trust big, huge, specific pharmaceutical companies. I think, sorry to harp on about North America, specifically America, but I remember when I worked over there, when I lived over there, and it was such an odd thing to have a medical company advertised to me. That's something I've never experienced before. And so when you put that kind of decision on, I guess, a consumer rather than a patient, that completely changes the whole dynamic of the two. I mean, what do you guys think?
That's new.
No,
that's
I agree
legislation
completely.
that came out. Yeah, it's legislation that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. I believe it was late 80s when they started to allow longer commercials. Infomercials started around that time because they used to not be legal. And then they legalized that, allowing drug companies to actually start advertising their drugs. And so patients were going in and asking about this new drug that just came out, asking their doctors
because I was gonna say the one that I saw. I remember the first time I saw one, and it was like, ask your doctor about blah 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 blah. And I remember turning to my friends and just being like, what was that? Like, I've never seen anything like that. It just blew me out of the water. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. It's obviously a bit of a lag.
Oh no, it's completely fine. But I know, looking at some of the expenses that are associated with marketing, has been an increase as far as how much a drug will cost, because they're spending more on marketing the drug. There's also some programs where they'll have MDs go and visit other MDs, and then they get paid to have a little talk about this new medication that's come out by this pharmaceutical company, to encourage them to go and prescribe it. And so there are some that do get some kickbacks for prescribing certain medications, and it's completely legal right now. And I know they're looking to try to, I think the FDA, there's particularly with the cost of insulin, that's a big problem. And I have a link for that, so I can put this link in the chat here, for the statement from the FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, MD, on the agency's continued efforts to bring competition to the insulin market, to lower prices and expand access. So there have been, like, Martin Shkreli went to jail not for raising the cost of certain, I forget which medication it was, it's associated for people who have autoimmune deficiency syndrome, and other individuals who are immunocompromised. I forget the type of drug, but it was normally like $7 a bottle, and ended up being like $100 a pill because he just decided to raise the rate. They can legally do that. So the FDA is trying to step in, particularly with insulin, to stop the companies from doing that. So yeah, there is some distrust there.
Well, so yeah, I think that distrust is completely natural. And another thing, I mean, I know that guy, that arsehole chemist bald guy, he also hinted at potential over prescriptions. The right way, you know what I'm trying to say? You know what I mean, where things are handed out that may not be handed out in different countries. It's another one again where, I'm just a grunt chemist. I don't really know much about medicine whatsoever. But I know when I worked out in America, when I lived out there, and I worked with kids, and there was a lot of them on some very interesting stuff that I'm not 100% sure that if they lived in the UK, they would necessarily be on them. I don't know. Do you feel the same?
Ritalin? Like Ritalin?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, maybe all the kids were on Ritalin, but we're talking about some other fairly...
We do have an opioid crisis, and there is a concern with overprescription of certain medications, depending on who you go to. We now have, I don't know if you're aware, but because of the issue, the fact with going to the doctor is expensive, I pay about $400 a month, $440 a month for my insurance, but I still have co-insurance.
Wait. I'm sorry, 400 and how many dollars?
I pay $440 a month for my insurance, but and I still have co-insurance I have to pay. I have a deductible I have to meet. So I basically pay for a discount. I pay for a discount for services, and I get a discount on my drugs. The insurance company will pay for like 80%. I have to pay for the other 20%, and it's got to be specific doctors that have agreed to be part of their program. And it also has to be specific. I can't, like, if I wanted a new prescription drug that just came out on the market, it's like $200. They might pay 60%, and I will still have to pay the other 40%. So I pay for a discount on services, and I still have a deductible I have to meet before they will pay 100%. And then I have to pay.
What's the average?
There are drugs that they're calling experimental that have been out for 30, 40 years. They're still calling them experimental drugs in some insurance companies.
I mean, by way of benchmarking this, personal disclosure, having two very significant lifelong medicated conditions, I pay more than over the odds in the Netherlands and it costs me about $2 a day for the gold-plated insurance that I'm obliged to have, but if I couldn't pay, it would be free, and if I could pay and I wasn't unwell, it would be like $1 a day, and that's it.
Yeah.
Ambulance cost, if you get run over in the street, you go to the hospital, nobody sends you a bill.
Yeah.
So America, get over your gun fetish and
Canada,
do some healthcare.
In Canada, they pay you. They reimburse your parking when you go to the hospital.
Yeah, you have to.
That's a thing.
There.
That's a thing. You have to pay.
It's such an odd concept. I was going to say it's such an odd concept for healthcare to really cost a lot of money that I don't know. It's just part of who we are in the UK. That's why when not to mention again, when Trump came over a few months ago and said pretty much the NHS was on the table, the fucking hell, like everyone went mental. And when Boris is doing it now, everyone's like, well, no, there'll be fucking anarchy in the streets before we get rid of that.
I mean, it's not cool.
It was 1949 we developed the healthcare service, and it was kind of a dividend from having fought fucking wars. And my grandparents recall having to be concerned about paying for a medical visit for a sick child. And we decided as a culture to invest such that nobody has to make that decision anymore. And that's actually, in terms of, national business, it's a really good investment. You actually save money by investing in a healthcare provision for your people. So there's that. But it wouldn't work in America because reasons, right?
Tying it into this idea about this large amount of conspiracy theories associated with Big Pharma and all this distrust, it has a lot to do with the fact of our privatized insurance system. And with the Obamacare, it allowed it's not very user friendly. So if you don't have access to work or something like that, or your job doesn't, if you're a part-time employee somewhere, you're not allowed to purchase insurance through the company. So they won't allow that for you because your company will pay part of your insurance. So if I didn't have the company or the organization I work for paying for part of my insurance, it would probably cost twice what I pay a month, 2 to 3 times more than what I pay for a month. So, but that's what they do. So if you're a part-time employee, you go through Obamacare and you go on the website, the American Affordable Care Act, and you have to go through all this process. They give you options. You still have to pay, but you pay according to what you make. But it's still the setup, like you have a copay, you have a deductible. It's still set up the same kind of thing. So you have somebody who's like, if I get cancer, I'm going to max out at a certain amount. There's a lifetime amount that the insurance company will pay for. You get cancer, a lot of those treatments are like tens of thousands of dollars. And if your maximum that the insurance company will pay for is $1 million, you're going to run through that if you have a particularly aggressive strain of cancer. So there's a lot of cancer hospitals that are free now, like St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That's one organization. They don't treat just kids. They'll also treat adults too. But it's like they don't charge, but the wait list is exceedingly long to get in. Yep. So it's just so people turn to alternative therapies because if I get cancer, it's going to bankrupt my family.
What's the leading cause of bankruptcy in the USA today?
It's largely medical debt.
The answer to that is medical debt. And how many people in Europe go bankrupt as a result of medical debt? How many families are not destroyed as a result of that? Well, none, because we're rich countries that invest in important things like America chooses not to.
Yeah, but Jeff Bezos
quite a bit
several
sorry, America, you're awesome in lots of ways, but
except for taking care of your own. Oh my God, screw each other and all that. Like, forget it. You got cancer, too bad. Sucks to be you. Bye. Unless you got money. And so it's just.
Have you ever seen the meme, which is the Canadian version of Breaking Bad?
Oh God.
What? Walter White goes to the
So,
doctor, gets
yeah,
treatment,
it's
doesn't
Walter
make
White, and the
net.
doctor says, "I'm afraid you have cancer. Your treatment starts tomorrow," and that's it. It's the end.
That's a really instructive story. I mean, there's simplicity and elegance to that, but there's also fundamental truth to it. I mean, the tragedy of Breaking Bad was a good guy forced to do, or put in a position where doing really shady shit was his only and best option. So the poignance of that show, as well as the artistic grace of it, is writ large for me.
Yeah.
Especially when he murdered Tuco. It's like, I'm doing this to stay alive. I'm like, wait, what? Or Tuco, or Double, the other guy, the other.
See, I
myth.
never watched it past the first season. I wasn't a big fan.
I watched all of it. It got pretty invigorating. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
no, anyway,
it's dark enough.
But no, going back on topic, talking about Big Pharma, conspiracy and what have you. I think, like we said at the beginning, there is this nugget of mistrust, of almost truth at the core of these conspiracies, and they rely on people connecting with that. I mean, we talked about Dodger Research, we talked about jacking up prices and kind of having a consumer-based healthcare, and they're all there in certain parts of the world. And no wonder some people feel maybe these companies haven't got my best interest at heart. Maybe I can look after myself and don't have to pay, what was it, $400 and something a month? Nuts.
$440 a month for pretty much a discount.
And I can, yeah. And when you have so many people targeting these people looking for healthcare, I mean, I can understand why it'd be so easy to fall down one of these rabbit holes and think that, I don't know, smothering paprika on your face will cure you of all sorts of what have you.
Yeah.
It is sad, and it's just, I think as well, in this age of Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of it, it's so easy to fall for this stuff because those websites only only care about keeping you on their platform. They don't care about what media you're exposed to. So before you know it, you could fall down a rabbit hole and just be exposed to nothing but people who tell you that, drinking jelly juice will cure you of your whatever.
I mean, they'll try anything to keep from bankrupting their families. I mean, that's just kind of like where you're at.
I wonder how many suicides result from absent care or rational decisions based on economic requirements. Because quite frankly, even as an affluent person, if I was in the USA with people depending upon me financially and became catastrophically ill, I might, I'd probably off myself, to be absolutely blunt about it. But at a certain point, that seems to be a rational decision to make. I'm not suggesting one make that decision, but it's easy seeing how that could become kind of reasonable, right?
Yeah, the capitalistic system, particularly when it comes to the healthcare, it can destroy families. I mean, I grew up. My mother had she worked primarily in a minimum wage job, and she had 3 kids, and she had insurance, but it was around about the same price for her kids, but we couldn't afford to go to the doctor because we still had to pay co-insurance. We still had to pay a copay because she had a minimum wage job and she worked also on commission. And so if we got sick, we had to be like really, really sick because if we were really, really sick and we didn't have insurance, it would have cost so much more. So the only time we went was for like wellness checks because those were free. Well, not free. They were covered to where we didn't have to pay for anything for our vaccines and just to check us out. But outside of that, we just didn't go to the doctor unless we were really, really sick because we couldn't afford to go, even with insurance. So it's like,
I guess part of it comes down to, how people offset income tax versus services provided. Now, I pay about 40% overall, but my income is quite high. And I'm confident that some of that goes to services that I will not ever use, nor can ever use. But equally, if I need the service that other people are paying for, it's available for me. And the concept here is what the Scots called in the 18th century the commonwealth, that we are wealthy enough as a culture to pay into a fund for everyone. You may pull out of it more than you put in, but most people don't. And we've considered that to be a valuable cultural dividend. And, America is brilliant, and individualism and self-reliance are awesome. But this is also awesome for different reasons. And it's a really cool thing, just saying.
Yes. No, I agree.
So how do you think you can snap people out of falling for one of these quacks then?
Well, it's very difficult, particularly if you're dealing with somebody who has some kind of terminal illness and they can't afford to get any kind of treatment or even, basic care to deal with the pain, So, what I try to, early education is a good way to go about that. What I do, particularly where I work, education's important, and fortunately, where I work, they actually pay for the first 2 years of college if you go to a community college. So where I work, I help educate people and make them successful. And a lot of the people that I work with are in poverty. And so trying to get them to be prosperous, and that's the whole idea of where I work, is moving from poverty to prosperity and through education. So I do agree, trying to educate the population, even if it's just a 2-year program, even if it's just some kind of post-secondary education, to get them to understand, just whether it's STEM or something else, to help them become more successful and work towards bettering themselves holistically. That's kind of what I think. It's just going to come down to just educating the public in some form, and that can start with a community college or basic level and kind of build up from there. I don't know.
My strategy
is, what do you think?
My strategy, which is self-serving because it keeps me sane and alive, is to make fun of them, to make fun of ideas and prognoses
Not just
and
the
treatments
bad cop in the show.
that deserve
very much so.
Because humor is really important, and otherwise it turns into a tragedy that drags me into a dark pit of despair. There will always be a population that you can't reach. If you deny reality, I can't have a conversation with you. But the people who are on the fence, I try and give good information where it's requested, and I try and provide good epistemological basis for making decisions where the information may be lacking. I.e., if something has no active ingredient in it, it's probably going to do dick all. And if your homeopathic medicine is dilute to the point of 0, it's not really going to help your lumbago that much, but it might convince you.
I think there's definitely a place for piss taking. I mean, there's certainly people I know who have snapped out of conspiracy theories because people have just been like, that's idiotic, this is why. But I think there's a lot to be said for being very compassionate towards people who have fallen for this stuff. And trying to, for me personally, if I meet any of these people in real life, I'm always like, I'm not doing this to be a dick because I'm a farmer show. I'm doing this because even though I barely know you, I don't want to see some random person being hurt. Exactly. And I think that works quite a lot. Well, in the past, it's usually how I've approached it. It has worked for me.
Yeah. I make a distinction between online and interpersonal. My sister has arthritis, and she contacted me to determine whether baking soda will cure her arthritis. And she cited some natural news stuff, and I went, no, it might, it'll cure your acid indigestion, but not do this other thing. So I wasn't making fun of her over it. It's like, no, this is untrue. But online, I find it more therapeutic and more engaging to people to point fun.
To rip the piss.
Yeah, if you stick a jade egg up your hoo-hoo, it's. I mean, it might feel like it's helping you.
You might get an infection. You might get one of those.
But it's not going to do it all through. It'll align your chakras that are made up, right? And that's good.
Wait, chakras are made up?
Well, it'll do something to your cosmic frequency. Now give me $49.95.
And that was what I was going to say. Is the scary part is some of these things like baking soda, for your example, does have a use. But if you take it and you don't need it, that can actually damage you too. Some of these things can actually damage you if you don't have the thing that they can actually address.
Oh, it's like taking antibiotics when you've got a virus, or one that I've seen online recently is DMSO therapy. So you put DMSO on you're inviting stuff to enter into your system. And I think people don't realize that when they're slapping it on them to get rid of whatever the hell they've got.
Oh, God.
It'll also turn you a lovely shade of yellow. So if you want to be yellow and have skin porous to all kinds of shit.
Propofol is a sleep aid. Just ask Michael Jackson about that.
Oh, God. Man. I have a question for you guys. We're coming close to time, and I have a challenge for you. It's kind of like a game.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a game.
It's been really fun, though. Really fun.
It has been fun. It's been awesome.
I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been a little bit depressing on a few times, but it's been good. I've really
that's me. Sorry. That's my influence on me. I've put my email address in the quiet chat as well, so please feel free to reach out, Myles. I'm sure we have a lot to discuss about idiots and such.
Okay, awesome. So, this challenge, we have our resident alien named Roswell, and he'll come and his ideas. He usually does conspiracies, so you're gonna have to guess if it's a real big pharma conspiracy or not. And the people in the side chat here, they play along, and let's give that
Roswell
a go.
Roswell's a trans alien from the future, so you can't do anything transphobic about the alien, right? Just be careful. This is
I will be careful. Thanks for that.
I'm not certain that Roswell's people have genders. They might. I don't know.
Transphobe. You goddamn it, racist piece of shit.
That's me. Yeah. Usually I hear things like that from very angry men who like to tell me that I'm not a scientist. So let's pull up the challenge, Bull.
Hello, my name is Roswell. Hello, Doc Savage. How are you today? Wonderful.
Sorry,
and I see we have the incomparable Myles Power with us. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you?
I'm doing spiffing, thank you very much.
Excellent. So, I'm going to be delivering you a challenge about Big Pharma. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to be delivering different conspiracies to you, and you have to let me know on whether or not it is a legitimate Big Pharma conspiracy. So, here's the first conspiracy. Big Pharma is actually funding the anti-vaxxer movement. They're shilling out all of this money to try to get the anti-vaxxers to persist because sick people means more money for them. What do you think? Is it real?
Yeah, that one sounds real. It sounds very similar to like a load of other stuff, like the ones where it says like Alex Jones is funded by the American government to spread conspiracy theories. Yeah, I'm going to go for real on that one.
I'm going to pick door 2, Donkey Punch, and the Dirty Sanchez maneuver. That's a bunch of shit. I don't think this is a real conspiracy.
Okay, what's the reveal?
This is an actual conspiracy. You can find an article about this written by Vox Humana on Rational Wiki about how it is that Big Pharma is going to win out with the anti-vaxxer movement persisting. Now, they may not necessarily be shilling out money to continue the anti-vaxxer movement, but they are seemingly getting involved in some polio management, but that makes sense because anti-vaxxers are bringing back polio. Who'd have thought?
Polio rocks.
Okay, the next one.
Here is your next conspiracy. Did you know that Big Pharma is actually the new big mafia? They're doing their best, paying out money to keep people quiet, hiding data and hiding negative data that actually might cure cancer. They have the cancer cure, but they're not sharing it. Can you believe that? And they're paying money to hide criminal activity and to keep doctors quiet about it. They don't want to ruin them. Is it real?
Is it
real?
That
one's real as well. Yeah, I mean, I've heard it for so many compounds that cure non-specific cancer. So yeah, I'm going to go real. I'm going to go, 2 reals.
Totally real. Totally real. We're hiding all the cancer cures except the ones we're not hiding. Those ones we're okay with. That's out there.
You guys are bastards.
What's the reveal?
This is a real conspiracy. So there is something to, Big Pharma sitting on negative data, and Ben Goldacre is a big critic about them pushing to publish the negative data because it might actually be useful for other things. Now, with that said, there's nothing to suggest that they're hiding the cure for cancer and that they're paying off governing bodies to push, poor drugs through that might actually cause us sicker. That doesn't make sense.
It's actually an interesting one. You could make an entire podcast on publishing negative data. That is like a huge area in research that is just, I can't believe that no one does this. Well, it takes so much energy, but it must be so many times I've done stuff in the lab where it just hasn't worked and someone else has tried it, and because it's not published, you'll never know. It's one of my little pet peeves there. Sorry, went off on a tangent.
No, go for it. We should publish negative data.
It's very true. And things that stand against existing hypotheses, if you publish those, that's the paper that gets the interest. That's the real prize when you go, well, actually, we've thought this forever, but this says that probably doesn't happen. Let's look further. And that's how we learn stuff. It's really cool.
What's the next challenge?
Here's your next conspiracy. Bill Gates is working with Big Pharma with this sinister eugenics idea, in that this is being expressed through his global vaccine program in order to vaccinate children. Now, this program is delivering vaccines all over the world to stop preventable diseases, but what he's really doing is injuring and killing them because we know vaccines are bad. So, eugenics. Is this a real conspiracy?
I actually know this one. This is real. This is a real conspiracy that using the polio vaccine, Mr. Gates is getting rid of undesirables around the world. So I've heard this one. So I'm going to go for it.
Yep, totally. And I, at the risk of blah, blah, I actually do business with the Gates people. So, they call me up and go, what do you think about this? I'm like, yeah, let's murder some more. Let's do it. Because we really need more money, right, Bill? That's why you're giving away tens of billions of dollars.
Oh, God.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. What's the revealable?
This is a real conspiracy. Globalresearch.ca posted an article where they're talking about this very thing. Like Bill Gates wants to go around and kill off people that are potentially customers to buy his particularly ridiculously expensive software. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Let's kill off our customers. Oh my God, I can't even today.
Oh, there you
Is there any more, or am I just going to be the winner now? I'm quite enjoying
it.
that.
I think we have one more.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
Easy time you can get.
Here's your next conspiracy. Did you know that Big Pharma is actually funding various types of alternative medicine? But you're like, why would they do that? Well, the reason why they're doing that is they're working to make certain that they're ineffective towards any kinds of treatment. So these individuals who are sick will actually go over to Big Pharma doctors and get those more expensive treatments in order to get well. Can you believe that? Big Pharma is making alternative medicine ineffective.
Yep. 100%.
So Jilly from Jilly Juice does talk about this a bit. She talks about how alternative medicines aren't hers, are ineffective. Actually, I'm going to go for yeah. No, actually, no. Wait, no. To add a bit of drama to the end, I'm going to go no.
Oh, drum roll.
What's revealable?
This is not a real conspiracy. However, there are different conspiracies that say essentially Big Pharma is doing everything they can to suppress all of the cures that these different alternative medicines actually do. While there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that alternative medicines cure a thing, in fact, they really don't, there are people who believe that particular aspect of that conspiracy theory.
So just checking, that's 4-2, right?
Yeah.
You got it, man. You nailed it. 100%. You get the big prize.
All right.
You get $1 million. You get $1 million God points, which are
$1 million shill pounds.
Yeah, shill pounds.
What's Roswell got to say?
Here's the last conspiracy.
Oh, last one.
Did you know that Big Pharma is making all of these drugs with severe side effects on purpose? Because they want you to have these severe side effects so you'll have another drug in order to treat those severe side effects so they get more money. So, since Big Pharma is doing this, they want to keep you sick, and then that way they'll just treat one thing. It causes all of these other severe issues, and then that way you have to buy another drug. Is this a real conspiracy?
Yeah, that's
100%.
a huge thing of corner of the AIDS denialism movement. So, yeah.
I have a side effect from a drug I take. You want to know what it is?
What?
Being functional. Yeah, not being suicidal.
I don't know. Some bald guy
side
online
effect.
told me that all that stuff's made up. So
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, it's a tough side effect to manage. I've got about another 50 years to work out a way.
What's Roswell say?
You know, I'm going to have a rant for just a second,
true, by the
if that's
way.
all right.
It is a real
And this is about the U.S. healthcare system. I'm just going to say, it's ridiculously expensive, and there are some issues associated with Big Pharma, particularly with individuals that are raising the cost of different types of life-saving medication. If the U.S. had a national healthcare system and managed to, I don't know, make these drugs readily available to individuals in order to save their lives, we wouldn't have all these conspiracies.
Yeah, that's true. And by the way, you guys were right. That is a real conspiracy.
cool.
Yeah, good job.
No one should have to go bankrupt and go, oh, wait, should I buy my insulin and live, or do I pay my rent this month? Come on now, US, sort yourselves. This is absolutely ridiculous. There needs to be some kind of reform for this, and we need to stop corporate greed on that level. So, national healthcare systems are effective. They save lives. Let's do this. Come on, folks, sort yourselves.
Roswell's mad.
Well, she's been listening to us.
Yeah. Everyone should listen to the alien there.
Listen to the alien. Roswell's almost done. I think Roswell.
All right, I'm going to take a breather. You know, we don't have this problem up in my space station. We have excellent medical care and coverage for all of our aliens. You call us aliens, but we call ourselves people, whatever. You know, potato, you're all aliens to us. Anyway, fantastic job, Doc Savage. Myles Power, this was amazing to interact with you. I love your content. We watch it up on the spaceship all the time. Amazing work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, do you feel special now?
I feel very special. It's not quite level of Nazis complimenting me on how genetically pure I am, but it's up there, definitely.
I think Roswell's signing off.
So I want to thank you guys again for playing along with me. Those of you who played along in the side chat, Mel's going to give you points, and in December, she's going to send out a swag bag to the person who has the most Mel's Minions points. So good job, Myles. Excellent to meet you. Dark Savage, always a pleasure. Leave me a little bit of whiskey out. You know what? Never mind. Don't worry about it. I won't probe you this evening. Anyway, have a wonderful time in Audacity. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
That was quite cool.
Yeah. I like the way that its head changes shape based on emotion. I think mine should do the same.
Yeah, with the spikiness.
When I'm upset or, excited.
We used to have another character named Karen would deliver challenges, but Karen got really too creepy with Doc.
Yeah.
She just
stalking whore, Karen.
Yeah, she kept calling him. It was very awkward.
Disembodied head's not really my thing.
Yeah,
she was really upset that he wasn't returning her calls. So.
She was personally responsible for turning Doc Savage off of the Talking Heads as a band.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
That's exactly how it happened. Just once in my lifetime.
Just once. Oh gosh, I have one more segment if you guys can hang out. It's called Stupid Things. Are you keen to see something really stupid?
I am, although
I've
only got 10% battery on my laptop. Originally I was going to use my iMac, but I don't remember it didn't work.
Okay, it won't last very long.
It may disappear in a bit.
Okay.
Let's try and squeeze it into 10%. Let's do it. I mean, it's G-Man, so he's already in that 10% fraction.
God, yeah.
My name is G-Man. You got the audacity. You're going to jail. You got the audacity. My name is G-Man. You got the audacity. That's all I got to say. You got the audacity. I sold $3,000. You got the audacity. Audacity. You got the audacity. Because you don't got no evidence. My name is G-Man. My name is G-Man.
He's one of our biggest trolls.
What was that?
Myles. He's one of our biggest troll people. Oh God, yeah, he hates us.
What have you done to him? Is he going to throw down like a massive rap or what?
Well, for clarity, the actually entertaining rap was made by Hannibal and Monty, friends of the show.
Yes.
G-Man is a toxic, duplicitous, fundamentalist Christian douchebag. And Mel and I have basically we've washed our hands of him, and it hurts his fees.
It really does. He makes hate videos about us.
You thought Jilly was stupid? That's a whole different level.
Yeah.
G-Man classic lines. G-Man classic lines. DNA is made of cells. If you didn't know, it's totally made of cells.
Those DNA cells, those guanosine cells, you got to watch out for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a language, don't you know? A binary language with 4 characters.
A binary language. That's another new one on me.
All right. So yeah, the audacity. That's he said you have the audacity, and we're like, we need to have a show called the audacity. We're like, no, we're gonna make it smart. We're gonna call it oral audacity. We have the audacity and we speak it all the time.
There we go.
Oral audacity. So let's look at this stupid thing that I found about the flu on an anti-vaxxer page. So this says, flu shot while pregnant. Hello, everyone. I'm writing because I am almost 4 months pregnant with my second child. Last time I was pregnant, the doctor tried to convince me to get the flu shot, but I was adamant about not getting it. This go around, I'm with another doctor who is much stronger in her convictions and highly recommends I get the flu shot while pregnant. Has anyone gotten the flu shot while pregnant? Any recommendations? I feel like I most likely will not, but just wanted to reach out to others to weigh my options. Thank you for your responses in advance. This is on an anti-vaxxer Facebook group that I joined just for morbid fascination. So this person has posted all of these different treatments that she needs to do. They guess the strains of the flu 6 months in advance. So by the time you get your flu shot, that strain is non-existent. We keep trying to outsmart Mother Nature and it never works. So she says, number one, it is busted to boot
it's nearer. It's nearer 9 months, and that's not really correct. But anyway, grain of truth.
Grain of truth. And then it says, get adequate rest, eat and drink your green vegetables. So juice them, I guess, and then eat them as well. Take your herbs and supplements. Don't forget to get up and move. Okay, that's move with exclamation points. And drink plenty of water. We're all told to get your flu shot. They're safe. They're effective. Why would you not want to protect yourself? So I don't understand if she was trying to tell her not to get a flu shot or if she was telling her to get a flu shot. But this particular Facebook group has like 30,000 people on it. And it's
it's amazing how big some of these groups are, isn't it? You think there's no way that this one, like Jilly had she had over 100,000 at one point. It's crazy sometimes.
It is crazy. It is crazy. But they post a lot of the stuff on there. There is another thing, Bull, just really quickly. I have stupid study. Somebody had posted on here. There it is, folks. Case report on simultaneous SIDS in twins 2 days after polio, DTP, Hep B, vax. Definitive proof that vax caused SIDS, which is actually VIDS. And so I went and looked at the study. So pull up the next one, the vax study picture.
Yeah.
And I highlighted
it doesn't actually say what they claim it says, right?
No, it doesn't. Not at all. It says, and this is a part that they leave out, there is always the possibility of some familiar metabolic or other genetic diseases. When the familial history of the mother is explored, the mother's mother had 3 twin births to 6 children, of whom 5 died sometime after the delivery, and the mother's own twin sibling and the twins of the uncle of the mother also died. And then they go further in the red portion. The weakness of this study with regards to the diagnosis seems to be the lack of analysis for inherited metabolic disease. However, as the judicial authorities are interested in the cause of death in connection to any criminal activity, their reluctance to afford the costs of the further examinations as to the metabolic and genetic disorders is not a surprise. So they didn't even test them genetically. You can bring us back.
Yeah. Cool. So this is what's called a zebra hunt, meaning that the most obvious and most easily excludable cause of death, as in an associated familial trait, which is obviously present here, was completely ignored. Instead, an intervention was spuriously associated with a trend that had been evident for generations beforehand. And that's horrific if someone's using this as an excuse to put their kid at risk. I mean, it's just incredibly transparent.
It's funny, you often find these people who, they'll put research out there, and it's clear that they haven't read it, or if they have, they've not critiqued it. But I've never seen one as transparent as that before. Outstanding.
I mean, they have to be better. This is we're not dealing with deep thinkers here. This is an obvious scam.
Yeah.
Come on, people.
And they're not
Come on, scammers and quacks. Try harder.
Right, unfortunately, I'm down to 5% now. Sorry.
Okay,
and
so
if I go
let's go ahead
I'll lose
and
internet connection. So
round off. So let's kind of sound off on this. So first of all, Myles, before we go, tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm telling you my house. But no, if you wanna hear me talk nonsense at a camera, my YouTube, just search my name, Myles Power. I've got a website, milespower.co.uk, where I kind of put everything together, so that's a good place to start. But yeah, Google me if you want to hear my boring opinions on things.
Do it. Do it.
There's a link to his YouTube in the description, so you can click on that and subscribe. All right. Well, thanks for being on the show, Piles.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Oh, sorry. I am lagging well behind. My internet connection up here in the north is terrible. But no, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. We've obviously put the world's wrongs right. I really enjoyed it, to be honest with you.
Oh, great. Well, feel free to come back anytime. We'd love to have you again.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Any last thoughts, Myles, before we go?
Oh God, put me on the spot. No, I'm still riding the high of winning the competition of is that a conspiracy or not. So
maybe I'll send you a T-shirt if you want. You want a T-shirt?
That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this man's ilk are pantheists like mine.
Pantheist, yeah, maybe. All right, that's an inside joke. I'll explain later. Doc, any last thoughts?
Joke, yeah. Yeah, keep using your brain. Try to make good decisions and try not to be a bastard. Rules for living.
All right. Rules for living. Doc Savage, Rules for Living. I think that's number 273. I think that's it. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right, actually. Well done. Well done.
Oh, fantastic. I keep up. I pay attention. So thank you guys for being here on the show. Do check out Myles's work. Check out Doc Savage. He's on PvP on Saturday nights. I'll be back here next Saturday with the Science of, and then next Sunday we'll have Tony Reed on about evolution. So that'll be awesome. All right. Woo! And thank you guys in the side chat. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
I absolutely adore Doc.
Because I have testicles for some reason.